I'm Diane Brennan. You're watching the Arizona Real Estate Network. My guest is Mark Brodeur with the Scottsdale Experts, a realtor here in the Valley. Now, Mark, why are Canadians finding it so attractive to buy here?
Well, there's a few reasons. Right now, the Canadian dollar is above par, so that's a big reason. You know, historically, it's the Canadian government likes to keep it below the U.S. Dollar just so they can export more to the U.S. And right now, it's at $1.03, and some people are saying it's going to go to $1.06. So historically, it's way above normal, and that's one reason. The other reason is the Canadian economy is doing fairly well, especially Western Canadian economy, and they are here to take advantage of the downturn in the market.
And so what are they looking for?
They are looking for a bargain, the deal of a lifetime, the ability to get into this market for their retirement especially. We're hearing a lot of that. As the baby boomers are coming up towards retirement, this is the perfect time to buy for them.
Are there any areas in the Valley that they prefer over other areas?
Well, they're all over. Demographically, you see people up in Paradise Valley, Desert Mountain, the East Valley, and the park models, I believe that's what they're called. You see them everywhere. The retirement communities, middle class areas, everywhere.
So what does a person need to bring with them down to Arizona when they're looking for property?
Well, in Arizona, you need proof of funds or approved financing in order to put in an offer. So we always advise clients to have their proof of funds. Usually they're paying cash. Either they have the cash or it's through a line of credit back in Canada, where they can get slightly better interest rates than they can down here on a mortgage. So most of them are, you know, they have to have their proof of cash, and they should also be aware of the differences in the two processes between Canada and the U.S. as far as purchasing real estate.
And so do you think that this is the bottom of the market?
If I knew when the bottom of the market was, I'd be a billionaire. I wish I knew when the bottom of the stock market was all the time. I think that with trustee notices are dropping precipitously in a lot of zip codes. We're down 50%, sometimes even more. So that tells us that the market is not going to probably get a lot worse. It might go down a little bit more because those foreclosed properties still have to be disposed of. But going forward, in 1 year time, I think we're going to see a very big difference in where the market's headed. And the other thing is the last 3 months have been the busiest month ever for transactions. December was the busiest December ever. January was the busiest January ever, and February was the busiest February ever for transaction volume. So that tells us that the market is a lot hotter than people realize.
And any advice? Anything that a Canadian needs to keep in mind when purchasing a home?
What they need to look at are the critical things there's two critical things if it's for personal use and three if it's an investor. The two critical things for a winter home for personal use are the settlement or HUD-1, which describes where and what has happened with all the money in the exchange. So they will be responsible for property taxes. They will be credited for property taxes from January 1st. So that means they have to be paying those taxes when they are billed for those taxes. The other thing is they have to be aware of the FIRPTA requirements, which are the Foreign Investor Real Estate Protection Act of 1980. They will have to pay a certain amount of money to the U.S. government for their capital gains upon disposition of the asset. And that's more important when they sell it, but they have to be aware of it going in. And the third thing is if they're an investor, they have to be aware of the U.S. Commerce Department requirements, the filing requirements, and you should have an accountant do that.
Thank you for your time, Mark. We are speaking with Mark Brodeur of the Scottsdale Experts with Keller Williams Integrity First Realty. I'm Diane Brennan, and you are watching the Arizona Real Estate Network.